So what's some of the inspiration for the story beyond the boredom of your own childhood, as far as like the larger context of the killer and the bully? Any inspirations there? Where did that all come from?
All that stuff was sort of in the original draft of the script written by Shane Armstrong and Shane Krause. Basically they wrote a thriller or revenge fantasy, I guess, about getting back at the sort of people who used to push him around at school and all that sort of thing. Part of my gig on the film was rewriting the script and jumping through lots of hoops and getting it into a state of getting financed. And I sort of introduced maybe some of the more sicker stuff, like the fact that they got sexually abused and all that sort of stuff.
We're also doing here at Fantastic Fest, we have an Australian retrospective series of the Australian drive-in cinema.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious how much of an influence that was on your own life and your own making.
Like, I'm 49, so I was a teenager in the 70s. So like when I saw The Man from Hong Kong, I was 14. They're incredibly influential on me. I saw all those films in the first theatrical release at the drive-in or in the hardtop cinema. And the Aussie movie Stone, that film about bikers, was a very sort of significant moment for me. That's when I first thought that maybe I could make movies, because up until that point, I guess movies were like an escape, and like even the Australian films, like the people in them they might as well have come from Mars, like Barry McKenzie and Alvin Purple and people like that, and even The Man from Hong Kong. But Stone seemed to be about real people, people that I recognised. I grew up in an inland sort of town that had a massive motorbike culture. It was near a big raceway, and there's a really big sort of bikey chapter called the Savages, who were pretty savage. But as teenagers, we thought they were the coolest people around. All those films were pretty influential on me. I mean, obviously there's a HQ Holden, which is a car from the 70s. It's got a Premier front, 308, but that's a bit of a gesture to, I don't know, Stone or Mad Max, and the arrow in the arm. I mean, that's fucking straight out of just about every movie Brian Trenchard's ever made. There's always somebody getting skewered. So there's all that sort of stuff going on.
So I should mention also, if you're not familiar with it, this is the Not Quite Hollywood retrospective. Brian Trenchard Smith is actually here in Austin, and he's going to be introducing Man from Hong Kong and Turkey Shoot on Wednesday and Thursday night. So it's a rare treat. You should check it out.
Most films made in Australia, between 60 to 90% of the budget comes from a government source. It's not like Hollywood or anything like that.
Is that the case with ACOLYTES?
Yeah, ACOLYTES was financed by the FFC, the Film Finance Commission, and the Pacific Film and Television Commission, which is like the Queensland state funding body, and to a smaller degree like an international sales company and a domestic distributor. But their money is important, but it's bugger all really. That's where most of the dough came from. I mean, the only reason ACOLYTES actually got into production is that there's a bit of a thing going on in Australia, that there's a feeling that perhaps we do need to look at producing stuff that's more sort of generically resonant, like genre films. The success of Wolf Creek is probably the reason ACOLYTES got financed. The primary influences on the movie were Larry Clark's Ken Park, and the movies of Larry Clark in general, because for me he's the person who best makes movies about a truthful version of a teenage experience. But also Suspiria, the Dario Argento film, which is a sort of a sonic, oral sort of movie, trying to create sort of suspense and scares just by having loud sounds.